Tonight, while you sleep, the largest movement of life on this planet will happen in total darkness, and almost no one will ever see it. Trillions of animals will rise out of the deep ocean toward the surface, feed in the black water, and sink again before dawn. It happens every single night, everywhere at once, and we only discovered it by accident. This is the deep ocean, everything below the reach of sunlight. It is the largest living space on Earth. Not one of the largest by far. More than 90% of the room available for life on our planet lies down there in cold and permanent dark. And here is the strange part. We have walked on the moon, we have landed robots on Mars, yet we have explored only a sliver of our own deep ocean, and at some point, we mostly stopped trying. This is the story of the world beneath the world, and why we turned our backs on it. So where is the deep ocean? The answer is almost everywhere. Lay a map of the planet out flat, and most of what you see is not land at all. It is water, and most of that water is deep. The continents sit on shallow shelves around their edges, like narrow porches. Step off the porch, and the seafloor drops down a long slope into the true deep, the abyss that fills the basins between the continents. The Pacific alone is wider than every piece of land on Earth combined. Beneath it lie endless plains, mountain ranges longer than the Andes, and trenches deep enough to swallow Everest whole. We have drawn all of this on our charts, but drawing is not the same as seeing. Almost this entire map is built from echoes and estimates, not from anything human eyes have ever looked at directly. To explore the deep, you first have to fall through it. The ocean is built in layers, and each one is a different world. The top 200 meters is the sunlight zone, the bright blue water we know, where almost every fish we eat and every coral reef we photograph lives. Below that, the light begins to fail. From 200 down to 1,000 meters lies the twilight zone, a dim blue gloom where the last of the sun gives out. Past 1,000 meters, there is no sunlight at all. This is the midnight zone, and it keeps going down through the abyss for kilometers. Most of the ocean, by sheer volume, is this permanent black. No day, no night, no seasons, just cold, crushing, endless dark. And against every expectation, it is full of life. Remember that movement in the dark? During the Second World War, sonar operators kept finding the seafloor in the wrong place. A solid surface would appear at 600 meters, then dissolve and rise toward the surface at night, before sinking again at dawn. They called it the false bottom. It was not the bottom at all. It was life, countless small fish, squid and shrimp, packed so densely that sound bounced off them like solid rock. Every night they swim up to feed in the dark surface waters, and every morning they retreat down into the safety of the deep. It is the largest migration on Earth, and it happens twice a day, all over the world at once. And most of these animals make their own light. In the deep ocean, glowing is not rare, it is simply the normal way to be alive. For a long time, scientists assumed the deep was mostly a desert. Without sunlight, there could be no plants, and without plants, surely, almost no life. Then in 1977, a small submarine named Alvin descended near the Galapagos Islands to study cracks in the volcanic sea floor. What the crew found there rewrote biology. Around scalding vents, where mineral-rich water poured straight out of the earth, they discovered a riot of life. Towering tube worms, taller than a person, tipped with blood-red plumes. Ghost white crabs and clams the size of dinner plates. None of it depended on the sun. Instead, bacteria down there feed on chemicals from inside the planet, turning what is poison to us into food. Life, it turned out, did not need our sun at all. It only needed energy. And the deep had energy of its own. Below the vents lies the abyssal plain, the vast muddy floor that covers more of the planet than any other single surface. For decades it was written off as flat, dead nothing. It is neither flat nor dead. Scattered across it sit oases of the truly bizarre. When a great whale dies and sinks, its body becomes a feast that can support an entire ecosystem for decades. A whole town of creatures living off one fall of flesh. And in some places on the seafloor, there are lakes. Real lakes, with shorelines and gentle waves, pooled at the bottom of the sea, made of water so salty that any animal which swims into them dies, and is preserved along the shore. Sailors once told stories of a hidden world beneath the world. They were far closer to the truth than they ever knew. So if the deep ocean is this strange and this alive, why did we stop going down? Part of the answer is money, and part of it is simple human nature. In the very same decade that Alvin found life at the vents, we were pouring fortunes into a different frontier. The race to the moon had captured the whole world. Space was clean, it was visible, and it was political. You could plant a flag up there, and 1 billion people would watch you do it. The deep ocean offered no flag to plant and no rival to beat. It was dark, expensive, and dangerous, and it gave up its secrets slowly. Year after year, the budgets that might have mapped the abyss went upward instead of down. We chose outer space over inner space, and the largest unexplored region on our own planet was quietly left in the dark. So just how little of it have we actually seen? Consider the seafloor itself, the solid ground at the very bottom. Until only a few years ago, less than a quarter of it had been mapped in real detail. The rest we know only as a blur, guessed from satellites measuring tiny bumps on the sea surface far above. We have sharper maps of the far side of the moon and of the surface of Mars than of the floor of our own oceans. And as for actually seeing the deep, with cameras or with human eyes, the fraction is almost too small to picture. A handful of expeditions, a few thousand hours of footage, scattered across an area larger than every continent on Earth combined. We have glimpsed the deep ocean, we have never once truly explored it. And now, before we have even finished naming what lives there, we have found a reason to disturb it. Scattered across parts of the abyssal plain are small dark lumps called nodules, packed with the metals we crave for batteries and phones. Cobalt, nickel, manganese. They grow slower than almost anything on Earth, taking millions of years to form. And companies now want to vacuum them off the sea floor on an industrial scale. The problem is that those plains are not empty. They are slow, fragile ecosystems we barely understand, full of creatures that live nowhere else and have never even been described. The deep ocean survived every age of human history untouched. It may not survive the 1 century in which we finally reached it, not as explorers, but as miners. We like to imagine that exploration is behind us, that the map is finished and the blank spaces are gone. They are not. The largest blank space left on Earth is not on any continent. It is below us, under the waves, the dark majority of our own planet, still mostly unseen. Everything that lives in the deep ocean has learned to survive without the sun, without warmth, and without us. For almost all of history, that distance kept it safe. Now, for the first time, we hold the power both to explore the deep and to destroy it, often with the very same machines. The question for this century is a simple one. Will we finally go down to understand the world beneath the world? Or only to take it apart before we ever knew what was truly there?